Thank you everyone for joining us. We have a great honor of having Mr. Brennan Crilly, who is the Manager of Admission Outreach and Student Affairs at the UCSF School of Dentistry. He has received his Master's in Counseling and Guidance in Higher Education for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, or commonly known as SLO. Mr. Crilly strives to be an advocate for current dental students, but also helping each prospective student to be a strong applicant as possible. He works heavily, his work is heavily involved in organizing and assisting outreach efforts for the School of Dentistry with the mission of increasing representation for each incoming class. Mr. Crilly is also the coordinator of the PostBack Program, which is an academic enrichment program for those who need to become more competitive applicants. A great honor to have you join us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. So my name is Brennan, he, him pronouns. I, like was mentioned, am the manager for the Office of Admissions and Outreach in Student Affairs at UCSF School of Dentistry. And today I'm going to be primarily talking about the university, what experiences most of our students are able to have, and kind of what our vibe is as a university. So if you are a pre-dental student, hopefully this gives you insight as to who we are, what we're about, what we're looking for. If you are not a pre-dental student, there will be a portion at the end of my presentation today where I talk about tips in general when applying to a graduate program and things to think about. So I'm hoping everyone can get something out of this. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here. Ooh, not big enough. There we are. So if you have been to UCSF, you may have been on one of our campuses. So if you have been to, oops, something just popped up. There we go. If you've been to San Francisco, you know that we are a large city in a rather small space. And because of that, land is a little bit harder to find. So UCSF has a couple different campuses located throughout the city of San Francisco. And our oldest campus is our Parnassus campus, which sits on top of Mount Sutro under that big wire telephone pole looking thing, if you've been to San Francisco. And on the Parnassus campus is our dental center. So there's a photo of it. You can see I'm sitting in front of it right now. And in this building, we have our pre-doc clinic. We have a couple of our postgraduate or residency program clinics. And we also have our simulation lab in this building. So it is a place where students get to practice the foundation of dentistry, as well as really gain experiences working with patients. We do have a lot of lecture or didactic coursework that happens on the Parnassus campus, but not in the dental center. So our students spend a lot of time on this campus, but they are not locked in the building for 4 years. We let them kind of get out and about and see the rest of campus. So some other areas to note, we will be going through kind of what a typical schedule looks like, but again, the dental center is just one aspect of the school. It is not the entire school. Part of your experience at UCSF School of Dentistry in your 3rd and 4th year is doing at least 9 weeks of externship. We're going to talk about what that means in a little bit, but we have externship sites located throughout San Francisco, the Bay Area. The furthest one away we have for this current academic year is up in Alaska, and they're looking to expand that to a couple other states as well. So again, you'll be spending a lot of time in the dental center in San Francisco, but there are opportunities to get out and practice your dental, your skills on populations that really could use the help. What we will be talking about today is primarily our DDS program, but we also have an international dental pathway. So if you are an international dentist, we're not going to be discussing that program in too much detail today, but we do have it. And then we have a couple of dual degree programs. So there's a DDS PhD program. That program is 8 years in length, where you do 4 years of your PhD work, and then you do 4 years of your DDS. So if you are interested in research and want to have a career in research and kind of dabble on with dentistry and patient care on the side, that is a perfect program for you. It's not for everybody. And then we also have a DDS MBA program. So once you are admitted into the School of Dentistry, during your first year, we put a call out to our students who might be interested in earning their MBA. And then the students who do decide to do the dual degree program take evening courses at USF. They're a local school down the street from us. And during your second, third, and fourth year, you're able to take those courses. So in 4 years, you're graduating with both your DDS and MBA degrees. Then you can see on here, we have 10 specialty programs. And part of our curriculum is we require all students to do at least 2 weeks rotations through each one of these specialty programs. So you may be coming in knowing you want to be an orthodontist or knowing you want to work with children and do peds, but we want to give you all different types of experiences. So once you graduate, you know what career opportunities you have in the field of dentistry. And if like right now, you know that general dentistry is for you, that is awesome. That's great. But you never know, 5, 10, 15 years into your career, you might want to switch it up. And at least you've had experiences to really understand what career opportunities and options you have. So it's a great way to learn about all the different fields in dentistry. Okay. UCSF, we're a huge research institution. We're a research powerhouse, one of the best in the world. And the School of Dentistry definitely continues that legacy of research. We want our students to problem solve and think like researchers, but you do not have to do research if you don't want to. There are opportunities and resources to participate if you want to. It is not a requirement to apply, but if you have research experience, it can help you. And we'll talk about the admissions process and kind of what we're looking for in a minute. But if you are thinking of participating in research, we definitely have opportunities. Oftentimes, folks think that dental schools in general are either really strong with research or really strong clinically. And what we try to say is like, why can't you be both? Why can't you be a research powerhouse, but also offer 4 years of clinical experience? So what we do at UCSF, and this kind of goes into the schedule here, is we do offer, we have our students participate in clinic starting their first year. So starts with shadowing, then goes to assisting. Then in January of their second year, they treat their first patient. Then the end of their second year, they inherit a pool of patients from a graduating fourth year that they are now in charge of overseeing, making sure that those individuals have up-to-date treatment plans, and that they're actively coming into UCSF School of Dentistry. Just checking the chat. And if you have any questions, I know I'm going through a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time. So if you need clarification on anything, please absolutely use the chat. To go and look at other aspects of our schedule, something that our students really rally around and behind and what they love is we're on a pass, no pass curriculum, and our students are not ranked. So what that means is we have a very collaborative environment, and there is not a sense of competition between our students because there is no top spot. That top spot doesn't exist. We want students to kind of worry about themselves, worry about their own experiences and their own education, and be a resource for others in need, absolutely. But we definitely do not want to have a community that is based on competition, because that's not what we're about. We want our students to collaborate to help move the field of dentistry further into the future. and collaboration is the best way to do that. Some other items I want to talk about in regards to the schedule is you will see that in your first and second year, there are a lot of didactic or lecture courses, and that clinic, like I mentioned, is introduced, that's PCC, is introduced during your first year. It is that the transition to dental school can be a lot. It is very different than undergrad. It is a lot of information, and they often say it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. So because we know that there is kind of a transitional period that students need, we have this thing called ISO, and we have it all 4 years, but it is increased in the D1 year. ISO is independent study option, and it is time for students to study, to get involved in clubs, to do research, to go grocery shopping, to sleep, to do whatever you want to do. It's free time. So we offer free time during all 4 years, but it is increased during that first year. And you can see the schedule for students are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, with a guaranteed hour lunch break from 12 to 1 every day. And then as we switch to the third and fourth year, you will see that the schedule shifts. It is more about patient care and working on clinical requirements to graduate. And you spend a bulk of your time either in clinic, on rotation, at those externship sites that we were discussing earlier, or on ISO. There are lecture components that remain throughout all 4 years. They don't go away completely, but it definitely does drastically decrease in the third and fourth year. So, something in the chat. Perfect. Another really cool aspect to not only the School of Dentistry, but UCSF at large is our student life that we have. Our students are very active on campus, and all of the schools, whether it's medicine, pharmacy, graduate division, nursing, dentistry, we give students time to get involved and explore areas that are of interest to them. So specifically within the School of Dentistry, we have over 40 registered clubs, and you can see we have organized dentistry. These are clubs that you're going to find at any major dental school in the US, like ASDA, ADEA, SNDA. We have a couple dental fraternities on campus. It is a great way to meet people socially, but they are so popular because they have a lot of academic benefits. These fraternities oftentimes will organize study sessions. So if the second years have a test case or an exam, then a couple of third years will organize a study session for the second years in that fraternity. And they also offer tutoring within their organization. So it is a great way to get some academic help as well as opportunities to meet people socially. We have specialty interest groups. So if you know, like I was mentioning, if you know you want to be an orthodontist and you don't want to wait till your third or fourth year to do a rotation, you can get involved with the ortho club during your first year and start becoming a name and a face in the department. So you can be a really strong applicant when it comes time to apply to that postgraduate residency, as an example. We have cultural dental groups, and the key thread amongst all of the clubs that we have is volunteering and giving back to the community. So you can see that we have a lot of events in the community throughout the year that are completely put on by student clubs and student boards. The largest and most consistent event that our students put on is called Community Dental Clinic, or CDC. And it is a weekly student-run clinic for individuals using homeless resources within San Francisco. And it is every Wednesday from, I believe, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And if an individual is using those resources, they can be referred to UCSF. And our students help set up transportation for the individual to get onto campus. And a treatment plan is created, and that individual gets to come back until they get to come back every Wednesday until their treatment plan is completed, and making sure that they are getting the care that they need. And it's not just, a screening and a cleaning and sending them on their way. It's really making sure that the patient's needs are met and that they are able to be seen at no cost until that treatment plan is completed. And then community service is also worked into our curriculum. So during the second year, our students go into local elementary and middle schools and do dental education, but then they also pair it with oral screenings and fluoride varnishes. So it is actively worked into the culture to make sure that students are involved and have time to be leaders in the community. And then it's also living in San Francisco. This is an amazing town. There's so much to do. If you need to escape the dental bubble, we are 3 or 4 blocks away from Golden Gate Park. So you can lay in grass and stare at trees and escape in nature and get rejuvenated if needed. The university has 2 different rec centers. They offer intramural sports, you can see here. They also have a thing called the Rec Pass, where the university will organize group camping trips for all students to participate and go. They go to Tahoe, Mammoth, all over California. And then they also offer a lot of recreational sports. You can see, like, you can check out kayaks to go into the bay, and have a little break from the rigors of studying and being a dental student. But yeah, it's San Francisco. It's a beautiful place to live. There's always something to do. Okay, switching things up, we're going to discuss the timeline right now. So we participate in the ADIA ADSYS application, and it is a nationwide share app between most states. And on that application, it opens up in mid-May. You can go in and start inputting all your experiences, all your work, your shadowing experiences, the courses that you've taken. Then in early June, you can start submitting to all the different dental schools. So in June, you can click UCSF and you'll see that we have 3 supplemental questions that everyone has to answer. And those questions are word for word on our website year-round. So the first time you see them should not be in June. You could go right now and see what we asked. Our office, the admissions office, we want to be as transparent as possible. We are not trying to throw curveballs your way. We're not trying to trick you. We try to give you all the tools you need so you can be as successful as possible throughout this entire experience. So if you have questions, a lot of those questions get addressed on our website. And if it's not on the website, you can absolutely reach out to our office and we will do our best to help you out. For this current cycle, the 23-24 cycle, our deadline is October 31st. But for next cycle, the 24-25 cycle, our deadline will be changing to October 1st, okay? So in order to get the most up-to-date information, please refer to our website. But in order to be reviewed, your application needs to have an official DAT score, and it takes ADA a few weeks to send those official scores to ADIA, who then uploads it and verifies them on your application for us to see, okay? So that process takes about a month. So we say you should be taking the DAT a month before the deadline, no later than a month before the deadline, to ensure that we, as an office, get those official scores in time. If you are retaking the DAT, you should wait to submit to UCSF until you have your official new scores and they are on your application. So if you submit to our office with pending scores, but old scores that you do not like are still attached, your application will get moved through with those old official scores, okay? So make sure that you are submitting once the scores that you want us to see are on your application officially. And then traditionally, we call people with offers on December 15th. Because that falls on the weekend this year, this cycle year will be on December 13th, but usually it's December 15th. Okay, what we're looking for. We are looking for individuals who can keep up academically, who can really thrive with the academic rigors of dental school. We're looking for students who have demonstrated a commitment to dentistry through shadowing, through dental assisting, individuals who have demonstrated that dentistry is for them and they can explain why they want to do this. We're looking for individuals who have had leadership experience, that they've demonstrated that they can be a leader and a team player. We're looking for individuals who have community service, that want to give back to whatever community they decide to live in. And if you have research, not a requirement, but you should absolutely include that on your app if you have it, because it can only help you, but it won't hurt you if you don't have it, okay? So we do have a holistic review. We look at every aspect of your application. Nothing weighs more than something else. And if you are, with those buckets that I just said, it's impossible to be perfect in every single one of those areas. We understand that life happens, that there's only so many hours in the day, and it is impossible to be perfect in every single one of those buckets. So because of that, something might give. And if it gives and it is a red flag, it is your responsibility as an applicant to make sure that you are actively addressing it in your application. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So here are the statistics for the incoming class of 2028. These are D1s. This information is on our website year-round, and each year we update it with the new info. Some things to point out: we don't give preference for in-state versus out-of-state. It just so happens that California has the highest number of pre-dental students in the nation for a state. So who we admit, it kind of reflects that. But to show that we have a holistic review, I want to show you and really point out our GPA and DAT averages. So you can see the scale of what we admitted. So someone was admitted with a 4.0. They did a really good job in their undergrad. And someone was admitted with a 2.3. And you can see that the beauty of a holistic review is you don't need to be perfect, but you need to be, you still have to demonstrate that you can keep up. So that person that was admitted with a 2.3 had a higher DAT score. It was offset by doing better on the DAT exam and actively including in their application what was going on. So like if you're working full-time to pay for schooling, or you are the primary caregiver for a family member, or you have children and you have other responsibilities, I'm not saying include that in your application as an excuse. It's not an excuse. We're asking you to include it for context purposes. Again, there's only so many hours in the day, and we as the admissions committee want to know how you're spending your time. So if something has to give, and unfortunately if it is academics, we want to understand what's going on and why you weren't able to have the best showing possible. Same thing if you don't have a ton of leadership opportunities. Well, again, were you working? Like, how are you spending your time? Like, you want to fill in your story for us. You do not want us to fill in your story for you. So it's your responsibility to really include that, okay? This next slide is going to have a lot of numbers on it, but we're going to discuss it. So dental school is expensive. No matter where you go, it's going to be expensive, okay? UCSF has some of the lower tuition costs for a dental school, but we know that we have a very high cost of living in San Francisco. And the university and the School of Dentistry has a lot of resources to help drive the cost of living down as much as possible. So these numbers are actively updated on the UCSF financial aid website. So if you're interested in medicine, pharmacy, or a different program, you can go see how much they cost in great detail. Like instead of saying tuition and fees, it lists out every single fee. We've just lumped it here to make it a little bit cleaner for our slide. But you can see that if you are an out-of-state student, there is a non-resident supplemental fee. During the first year at UCSF, the registrar office works with you if you are an out-of-state student to see if it makes sense to become a California resident so you can pay in-state tuition your second, third, and fourth year. Okay? This is expensive enough. We want to make sure it's as cost-effective for you, the student. And then you can see how our 2024 graduates were able to borrow significantly less than the average amount borrowed across the US. And to kind of show you some of the resources we have, it starts with scholarships. Both at the university and the school level, we have merit and need-based scholarships. So just by getting admitted, you are eligible to be awarded one of these scholarships. They are 4 years in length. So once you're awarded it, that is guaranteed money coming in for each 4 years. We also have ongoing merit scholarships for the second, third, and fourth year. So if you do really well academically, let's say your second year, you could be awarded a merit scholarship for your third year. It may not continue into year 4, but at least it's more money coming in than what you thought you had, and any little bit helps, right? So we have scholarships. We have a student food market. So every Thursday, students can go and get groceries at no charge from the Student Life office. They partner with the food bank in San Francisco, and they do fruits, vegetables, they do grains, breads, they do a lot of the basics, and it is a good amount to get you through most of the week. It may not be the only food you're eating that week, but it does provide a really solid foundation for your meals for that week. Then we also have our students enroll in the CalFresh program. It's the state's food subsidy program for individuals who are not working. And as a student, you will not be working. So 90% of the School of Dentistry is enrolled in the CalFresh program. And they give, I think it's around $300 a month. And you can use that money at any major grocery store in San Francisco. So if you, for example, you need Heinz ketchup specifically, and that's not an item that they might give out at the student food market, you have money to go get your Heinz ketchup and make sure that all those staples that you absolutely need to be successful, you're able to go get them at no cost to your own. So food is covered basically based
And
off
it's free. You don't have to pay it back.
Correct. Yes, it's free. We have, what are a couple other ones here that I want to discuss? UCSF has a shuttle system between all the different campuses in San Francisco. So if you live across town, if you live next to a UCSF campus, you can get over to the Parnassus campus at no cost using the shuttle. Part of your benefits of being a UCSF student is public transit is included for you. So you get free BART and Muni. So even if you don't live next to a UCSF campus, you can take public transit and get over here at no cost. You just need to account for travel time. I don't have a slide for it, but we also have university housing. They're committed to keeping their housing costs for students 25% under market value. So it is a great way to be able to afford to live in San Francisco. And if you do have questions on that, I can throw, oh, did it work? Didn't work. You can do kind of your own deep dive into university housing. I just put the link in the chat. But there's a wide range of what they offer. They offer everything from sharing a bedroom with another student in a shared apartment space to having a studio, an efficiency, a 1-bedroom, a 2, a 3-bedroom if you have dependents or a significant other. There is, again, a wide range of opportunities, and it's not guaranteed. It is competitive, but if you do get admitted into UCSF, we do encourage you to apply early, and it is cost effective. Okay. There are some other resources. We go into more details on this on our website. I won't bore you with every single one, but the takeaway is there are a ton of resources at the university and school level to make sure the cost of living is as cheap as possible, and to make sure that UCSF, coming to UCSF, is a financially responsible decision. And that's what we hear from a lot of our students who are out of state and even from California, was that they chose to come to UCSF because we're a great school, because it is an amazing town, but because it was one of the most cost-effective options for them. So do your homework and look into these. And if you are to chat with some of our students, they definitely would provide more information on why they came here and what resources they use. But okay, some of my tips in general. And again, this is for dental school, this is for med school, this is for any school that you're applying to. I try to keep it a little bit more general, but the first one is, when applying, you need to make sure that you're being your true, authentic self. The admissions committee wants to get to know you, not what you think we want to hear. Because if you're writing from that perspective of like, oh, what do they want to hear? It's going to be generic. It's going to be boring. Someone's going to write something so similar and better that it's going to be a no. Okay. So as an example, if an admissions reader is given 75 applications to read in the week and they have less than 10 interview spots to give, why are they going to choose your application as the one who is invited for an interview? Okay. So in order to be your true authentic self, and to provide more information on yourself, you need to have a conversation with yourself. You need to sit down and ask yourself, what do I want people to know about me? And what do I love most about myself? Whatever your answers are, that's what we as an admissions committee want to know. And I know they're not conversations that you have with yourself regularly, or like you're sitting at home on a Friday night asking yourself, what do I love about myself, right? That's probably not something that you're doing. However, if you take the time now to really sit down and reflect and figure out what you want us to know about you, it's going to have high reward, because it is very easy as an applicant. Let's say you get into what's a random school? UC Davis. I'm not picking on UC Davis, but we're going to use it as an example. Let's say you get into UC Davis. You are going to be at a major university, an awesome university, with a lot of other pre-dental, pre-med students who are in similar classes, in similar clubs, shadowing at similar hospitals and dental offices. Like, how are you different than those other people? We know you're different. Our office fully recognizes and understands that each applicant is unique and comes from their own experiences and their own background, but it is your job as the applicant to include those experiences and what makes you unique, so we can celebrate those things, right? We want to celebrate you and your experiences, but your job is to include them. Okay, so do some self-reflection, figure out what you want us to know about you, and include it. Next is the application versus the personal statement. So most programs have you write a personal statement or a statement of purpose, and that statement should not be a written version of your resume. It should not be, I shadowed with Dr. Smith, it was amazing, she did great, she spoke to patients. Like, that is not using your personal statement as an effective tool. Your application is a long form version of your resume. It's going to talk about your application, your education, the classes you took. You're going to list all the places you shadowed, all the places you've worked. It's basically, like I said, a long version of your resume. Your personal statement is giving us insight into why you want to do this. Why do you want to be a doctor? Why do you want to be a dentist? That is the prompt, okay? So you need to make sure that your personal statement is answering the question, why? And specifically for dentistry, it goes back to being authentic. You need to be more specific than you want to help people and you want to work with your hands, because that is so generic in baseline. That does not show us, an admissions committee, that you have taken time to self-reflect and really dig deep and figure out why you want to do this. So if those two statements are true, ask yourself, well, why do I want to help people? Right? Reflect on that, whatever your answer is. Say, why do I think that way? And keep asking the question why until you get to the core of why you want to do this. Because you can help people and work with your hands by being a nurse. You could do it by being a mechanic. You could do it in a variety of careers, right? So why dentistry? That's what your personal statement is there to do, to give us more insight into who you are and what you're about. Next is be inquisitive. So ask questions. Every school, whether it is, all the different medical schools you apply to, all the different dental schools you apply to, have a different vibe and they have different experiences that they can offer you. At the end of the day, in 4 years, no matter what dental school you go to, you're going to be a dentist. The goal of becoming a dentist, check. Like it's going to happen, right? But how do you want to fill those next 4 years or 3 if you go to a 3-year program? Like, what do you want those 4 or 3 years to look like? And if you are expecting certain opportunities or certain experiences to happen, you need to ask the students, faculty, and staff at those schools what opportunities they have to make sure that you're getting something that you are wanting to be a part of. So if you are someone who's really competitive and wants to be the top of your class, that is super awesome. But like maybe UCSF isn't for you. And that is totally okay. But because we're pass no pass, we're unranked, like we're not giving you a system that you might thrive in. And that's okay. But you need to ask questions to the other schools to make sure that you find the one that best fits your needs. Because yes, we are evaluating you, but you are also evaluating us. Okay. The next one, have empathy. So what we mean by this is specifically in the interview, and at UCSF in the School of Dentistry, we have 2 interviews. Both are 30 minutes in length. Both are closed files, so they don't know anything about you. There is one with a faculty member and one with a current student. But, and they both faculty and student are evaluating you on 4 competencies. And if you are granted an interview at UCSF School of Dentistry, then we give you, the applicant, what competencies you are being evaluated on so you can have your best showing. Like I said, we're not trying to trick you. I don't know them verbatim off the top of my head, but like one of them is like collaboration and teamwork. One of them is what was another one? I don't know, but so we'll send that to you if you need it. But using like collaboration and teamwork as an example, if you know that that is a metric that we are asking them to provide feedback on you, in your answers, you can just actively discuss ways you have shown leadership, ways that you have collaborated with others. So you know that you're giving that person what they're looking for. So the interviewer has a job to do, and it is to get to know you as best they can in a short amount of time to provide our office with feedback. So showing empathy is making sure that you are really giving them what they're looking for. So an example, if they ask you, tell me about a time you were in a leadership position. If you say, I was the vice president of the pre-dental club, that's not really giving them anything, right? Like everybody in the room is some way related, like some way involved in a pre-dental club. Showing empathy is saying, well, I was the vice president of the pre-dental club and my job was to make sure that we were communicating on what room we were meeting in for every meeting. We just couldn't get it together. Everyone was going to this room, that room. I implemented a Google Calendar and shared it with everybody that had the details of when the meetings were, where they were going to be held, and it really streamlined the process and everybody knew what was expected to them and where they needed to be. I was also the president of the toothpaste club, and I implemented what I learned from the pre-dental club, and it we didn't have any issues, and it was great, and we were able to really thrive as a club. So that is showing empathy. that is, rather than giving you an example and not talking about it, I gave you two examples. I gave you an example where it didn't go so great. I implemented change. I talked about how that change improved the process. And then I gave you another example, and I would have discussed kind of the benefits of that, right? That's showing empathy, giving the interviewer information so they can effectively evaluate you. Okay. And then lastly, we say establish your base of advocates and mentors. And this is primarily looking at letters of recommendation. So at UCSF School of Dentistry, we require 3 letters, one from a dentist or researcher, one from a science professor, and 1 letter of your choice. Okay. Or you can also do a committee letter with 1 additional letter. Every school is different, so make sure that you know what the expectations are so you qualify to apply in regards to the letter of rec. But oftentimes what we see specifically with the science professor is individuals thinking, well, I got an A in this class, therefore I am going to get a strong letter from this person. And again, just because you get an A in a class does not mean you're going to get a strong letter. You need to actively find science professors and ask them for the opportunity to learn a little bit about you. They don't need to know your whole life story, but a little bit about you and your career goals, and explain to them, you know, that you envision them as a letter writer. So if you find a professor that you really liked or a professor of a topic that you did really well in, you could go to their office hours and say, hey, my name's Brennan. I'm a pre-dental student. I'm hoping to apply to dental school in the next few cycles. I would love to give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about me and my career goals, with the hopes that maybe you can write a letter of recommendation for me. And the professor will either say no, and you say, thank you so much for not wasting my time, and find someone else, or they're going to say yes. And then you now have the opportunity to provide more context and background on yourself, which will strengthen and tailor the letter in a more favorable way for yourself. Okay, so give your letter writers an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. Okay. Okay. We're coming to a close here. I know this is like I said, this is a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time. But if you would like to sign up for emails from the UCSF School of Dentistry about upcoming outreach events, we have a lot of on-campus events as well as additional online webinars. So I'm going to put up a QR code here in a minute if you want to scan it and sign up. That's how you opt into those emails. We also post on our social media, our Facebook page, more so our Instagram. Our students kind of do takeovers of the page. And if you ever wanted to get a student perspective on life at UCSF or as a dental student in general, they are pretty active on Instagram. So I encourage you to check that out. If you have questions on prereqs or about the application process, you can send an email to admissions.ucsfdental@ucsf.edu, that email that's listed there. But here is the QR code. I'll give you a second if you need to take a pic. This link is also, if you go to the UCSF Dentistry prospective student website, on the left side of the page, there's a link and you can click it, and that's another way of signing in. Okay. The last thing I'm going to talk about is if at the end of your undergrad journey, if it doesn't go as planned academically, we do at UCSF have a postback program where we have up to 5 spots. And the goal is whoever is admitted into our postback program gets admitted into our DDS program, but there are certain benchmarks that they have to hit along the way. So if you get 3.5 or higher in the program, you get an automatic interview at UCSF, and then you have to get a solid DAT score and do well on your interview. But this is a academic enhancing program. So all of the prereqs do have to be completed. There are a ton of great postback programs in the Bay Area. If you are in the Bay Area, so like CSU East Bay has one, San Francisco State has one. I know UC Davis has a new one, and UC Berkeley Extension has one that's fairly new as well, but they're doing good things. So it may not be our postback program, but in the Bay Area, you have a ton of opportunities. But our program is one of the only pipeline programs into our dental school. Okay, so something to think about. If you are interested, the application comes out February 1st and closes March 31st. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. I told you that was going to be a lot of information thrown your way. But I'm curious if people have any questions.
Yeah, somebody wanted to know what is dental public health.
Dental public health, yeah. So that is a program. It's a postgraduate program. So once you earn your DDS or DMD degree, there are those specialty programs that we have, and dental public health allows individuals to have a career that is help shaping policy at the local government or federal government level. So it's a way to be a little bit more engaged in the policies that communities make. And oftentimes it's paired with a master's of public health.
The other question I have, the other question that's been asked is, are additional letters of recommendations accepted for current applicants to UCSF DDS program? I think you covered that. You said you want 3. Apparently this person wants to send more.
Yeah, so our office is really small. There's only 3 of us for all the applications we get for all of our different programs. So because of that, we only accept application materials through the application portal. So for the DDS program, it's a DIA Access. For IDP, it's a DIA Capid. For all the postgrad, it's a DIA Pass. So if you're specifically talking about the DDS program, we would only accept what is on a DIA Access. You cannot send additional letters to our office. We would not look at them.
And then the other thing is dental public health is really important because close to 55 million school hours are missed in the United States because of dental health related illness for children. So that's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
A lot of children.
If you are interested in the chat, Dental Public Health has a whole website. I posted it in the chat, so you can take a look at it. Oh wait.
Yeah, you just have to put everyone on there. I think you keep on pressing it just to the chat.
Oh,
I could repost it, don't worry.
I got you. There we go.
The other question this person wants to know is, does a major bachelor degree matter? Like this person is a biology major, but they're considering switching to psychology.
Yeah, so a bachelor's degree is not a requirement to apply. So you can apply and get in without having a bachelor's degree. However, there are certain prerequisites that need to be completed, and as a whole, most people who complete all the prereqs just want to go ahead and get the degree. We do not care what your degree is in, if it's science or non-science. What we want to make sure is that you have demonstrated that you can actively keep up with upper division science curriculum. So even if you are a dance major, for example, that's awesome. That shows you have interests outside of dentistry. But we as a committee are going to be looking for evidence that you've demonstrated that you can keep up with science classes. So the 2 ways of doing that, the 2 most obvious ways, are looking at the science courses that you've taken, either at community college or during university. And then the other way is looking to see what you score on a couple of the sections of the DA2.
So this person has a question in regards to postback programs. They wanted to know what is a postback program? Can I do a post program after undergrad? they finish my prerequisites and they're confused about it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So a postback program is a post-baccalaureate program. Oftentimes, when people finish their undergrad, if they feel like they need additional help to apply to a program, they might opt in to do a postback program. There are two different types of postback programs. There's academic enhancing, which focuses on upper division science courses, so you would not be able to take prereqs in an academic enhancing program. So like our program that we have at UCSF, it is academic enhancing. And in order to apply, you would need to have all of those completed. The other type, they call it career changer. And I mentioned all the other schools in the Bay Area, they have both types. With a career changer postback program, you would be allowed to take the prereqs as a part of their program. So the idea of a postback program is you're taking science courses, and then the program also offers advising or opportunities to figure out how to strengthen your application to med school, to dental school, to pharmacy school. So they help with editing personal statements, interviews, stuff like that. Could you do a version of a postback program on your own where you are just taking classes to strengthen your academic profile? Yeah, you absolutely could, but you might not have that advising or assistance piece that a formal postback program is able to offer. What is also common is some people will do a master's program to show that they can keep up academically, and that is a way of doing that. But again, a master's program is not going to have the resources to advise on the application and the personal statement and the assistance with applying to a program.
yeah, and the other thing is that another person wants to know, are post-bac programs mandatory?
Not mandatory. They're just a resource if you need it. It's kind of like what's an example? It's kind of like if you no, that's not a good example. It's if you need a little help to get to where you want to be, this is an opportunity to receive help to strengthen your application and then apply to dental school or med school or whatever type of school.
Yeah, I think it's basically, let's say you get into college your first year and you do pretty okay, but then your second year you did really bad because of XYZ, and then third year you're still struggling, and fourth year you do well. That's kind of like a program where you could go and improve, kind of redo some of your classes to say, hey, this is not me, this was just a fluke, and I needed extra support and extra help. I think that's the one that I've heard the most.
Yeah, it's a program to receive extra support and extra help to be the best applicant you can be. Because applying to dental school or med school or whatever type of school, pre-health school, it's expensive and you really only want to do it once. If you need to do it more than once, that's totally fine. There's no shame in that. But the goal is to get in somewhere after one go so it can be as cost effective as possible. And post-bac programs, although it's not a guarantee, there are certain things you have to do, have help and resources that allow you to be the strongest possible applicant that you can be.
Um, Perfect. And then this other person, so we're getting a lot of questions about what if I'm a public health major? What if I'm a psychology major? What if I'm a sociology major? What if I'm a bioengineering major? Which one is better to get into medical school and I mean to dental school and um, uh, to dental school?
Yeah.
Um, so
So
do you care? Do you sit there and go like this and you say, I want, only this major?
yeah, so we love to celebrate all majors. Again, you don't need to be a certain type of major to apply. At some of the other schools, especially on the East Coast, they are a little bit more structured in what they're looking for. So that's kind of why you need to know where you want to apply. So you can kind of look and see what their requirements are. But like at UCSF, we don't care what your undergraduate major is in, as long as you have completed a majority of the prerequisites to apply, and then you can get an offer of admissions, and as long as the prereqs are completed by the start of the program, you're good.
But this is another question too, is if you double major in bioengineering and electrical engineering, does that look better versus if you only majored in psychology?
So that's the beauty of a holistic review, is we look at everything. So it's not better, it's not worse. Like if you double majored in engineering and I was psychology, but I have demonstrated that I have 1,000 more hours of shadowing than you, then that's like a little bit more impressive than your double major, right? So that is the beauty of a holistic review, is nothing like it's not a one-to-one, one's more impressive. It's we look at your entire portfolio as an applicant and then make a decision. So there's a lot of factors that go into how we decide who gets an interview or who gets admitted. And that does make me think, so I don't know if y'all know about the UC Davis pre-health conference that's coming up in November. But our office is doing a dental mock admissions activity where we're going to break people up into groups, and we're forming mock admissions committees where they have to decide who gets admitted, denied, and waitlisted. And we're going to be looking at actual applications. So if you are curious about how admissions committees make these types of decisions, and if you're attending the UC Davis pre-health conference event, check us out, and you can attend our session and see kind of a little bit more into the admissions world.
This is a person wants to know, they went to two different community colleges and then the Cal State, and then went back to community college. Is that look unfavorably, and do they have to submit all of their transcripts?
So you are required to submit all your transcripts to a DIA Access to apply. We need to know your entire academic history in every place that you have attended. Does it look bad? No, everybody's road is different. If we don't care if the prereqs are taken at a community college or 4-year, with the exception of biochemistry. That's the only one that has to be taken at a 4-year. And if you're not at a 4-year, you can do it at an extension program like UC Berkeley Extension or San Francisco State Extension, and just enroll in that one class. But no, if you feel like if you want us to know why you have kind of jumped around, you can include that as context in your story. But on the surface, no, that's just what you've done. That's not a huge concern.
The other question people ask is how many is shadowing and clinical work more important, and how many hours are you supposed to have?
So again, beauty of a holistic review is nothing is more important than anything else. So it is an area that we look at, and we want to make sure that you've demonstrated a commitment to dentistry, but it is not more important than academics or leadership or community service, because nothing's weighted more than something else. We do not have minimum numbers. We encourage people to have at least 100 hours of in-person shadowing with a general dentist. And if you have more than that, that's awesome. If you have less than that, that's okay too. But 100 hours generally gives you enough experiences to be able to talk about the field of dentistry and know that it's for you. But some schools do have minimum numbers where you have to hit a certain number of shadowing.
And the People wanted to know if they're not a UC Davis student, can they go to the pre-health conference? It's open to everyone.
It is. There is, I think there's a cost associated with it, but he did put the link in the chat. So if you wanted to attend that event, you can look into it. We're not hosting it. We're not sponsoring it. We're just attending and putting on a session. So if you're going, hope to see you there.
Yeah, anybody could show up to it, just have to register. The person wants to know, how can I keep a check of all my prereqs to apply to dental school?
Yeah. So if you go
I
to,
already put that in the link.
okay. So if you, we have a website that has all of our prereqs on it. If you are like, if you're unsure if a course is like fulfills the bio requirement or not, I highly encourage you to go to your advisor at your community college or your university to help interpret it and to help figure out what courses you've taken and what fulfills our prerequisites. Because our office is only 3 people, we're unable to do academic advising, but most other universities do have advising centers and they should be able to sit down with you and help like say which is which.
Yeah, I would just say that just look at, they have a every dental school, medical school has that. Also, there's an official ADEA guide that you could look at every single school. But also, if you're kind of a little savvy, you could look at the PDF. It's free on the internet. And also, a lot of the advising offices have a free copy of it as well. So, but every school puts that on there. So, and I've already put that link, and we'll put it in again before we leave, so you could have that. But it's not like it's not I'm 100% positive that Mr. Crilly is not keeping that information secret. It's available to anybody. Um, and I'll put that on in there as well. This is person is a current community college student in their first year. When do you think it's a good time to begin studying and actually start taking steps into a dental career?
Well, I think getting experience in shadowing is the first step. You kind of need to have experiences in shadowing to make sure that this is for you and that you want to do this. Once you have committed to becoming a dentist and consider yourself a pre-dental student, then next steps are getting ready to apply. And if you do go to our website, there is a how to apply page that has step-by-step instructions, but it's making sure that you are keeping up academically, that you're, all those different buckets that I talked about, that you're actively working on those and making sure that you are getting involved and being as strong of an applicant as you can be. So you can do it now, you can do it later, but the most important step in the foundation of everything is making sure that dentistry is for you and that this is the career you want to go into.
Another person wants to know, when should I start shadowing as a first year college student? And I would just say the early bird gets the worm, but that's
Yeah, now's a great time. If you don't have time on your plate, maybe next quarter, next semester, but why not start now?
the other thing is, if you start early and you're enthusiastic and they like you, they may hire you as a dental assistant because there's a huge need for that. And it's just like showing up some more, being enthusiastic. They may um they may hire you as a dental assistant and you make
Yeah.
money.
If you're, yeah, I was gonna say if you have to be there anyways to get shadowing hours, right? You might as well get paid for it and allow it to be a little bit more hands-on. So it's not a bad idea.
The other question somebody wants to ask um, is there minimum hours of shadowing and volunteer work? I think we asked that, didn't we?
Yeah, no minimum hours. We roughly suggest 100. 100's good for across the board for shadowing, leadership, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then the other person wants to know is if they're doing if they're working as a dental assistant or shadowing, which one is preferred, and does it have to be volunteer or can it be paid?
Yeah, so it's logged as dental experience. We, whether you're getting paid, volunteering, whatever, there's no preference, nothing that neither is more impressive or preferred over the other. We just want to make sure that you have experiences in the field of dentistry, um, that demonstrate you know what you're getting into.
The only thing that I would also say is that somebody who works in healthcare, it's very different when you show up, you know, but if you're getting paid for something, that meant that if you've gone through a certain process, certain standard, you have to abide by certain rules, and that's always a higher level than just showing up and volunteering. The volunteering there is not, plus the other thing is the volunteer you do very little versus if you're getting paid, there's expectations for you to do work and be accountable and responsible for it. Um, that's just my personal 2 cents. Um, the people want to know when is the good time to take the DAT and how far in advance do you have to do you have to take the DAT before you apply?
So yeah, you so working backwards, if let's say you're applying next cycle, you know the application opens in May. If you want to be on the earlier side of applying, you know that you need to have official DAT scores ready to go to submit. So typically January, February, March is a traditional time to take it. That way you have your scores and you're ready to go if you want to apply that cycle. But excuse me, if you need to retake it, there still is enough time to be able to take it at the beginning of the cycle, and then you can submit in like July or August. Most people, and again, there's not like one time you need to take it. Some people take a gap year, or they graduate, they get their degree, then they take a year off to strengthen their application, and in that time they take the DAT. If you are going to an undergrad and you want to take it while you're in school, most people suggest taking it after you've taken the chemistry and biochem series. That way, because there are a lot of Gen Chem and OChem questions on the exam. That way it is fresh in your mind and you have the highest opportunity to do well in it. So for most people, that's kind of like end of their third year, beginning of their fourth, if you're doing the series that way. But again, there's no specific time. I think what's most important is making sure that you actively study for it. It is not an exam you can just show up and expect to knock it out of the park. You definitely have to study. And our other suggestion is just take as many practice tests as possible so you can practice the timing, the pace of answering questions, and then just the rhythm of trying to answer these types of questions in a relatively condensed amount of time.
The other question, how many times can you retake the DAT and when does it start looking bad for you?
So I think I want to make sure that I get this right and not give you false information.
I think a
So
lifetime is 7 times, right?
I don't think there is a cap. You can appeal. So technically you can take it 3 times. Okay. After that third time, they say no, and then you appeal, and then you're able to take it. Okay. Retaking the DAT once is not a red flag. If you are taking it 3, 4, 5 times, that it like we want to know what's going on. And if there is what is a bigger red flag is if there is no improvement. If you take it 3 times and on the last time you do great, knock it out of the park, that's perfect. Like that's fine. we might want to know why you had to take it 3 times, but even somewhere in the application, like, whatever, just explain what was going on. That's totally fine. We think that that's fine. But if you're taking it multiple times with no improvement, then that in itself is a red flag.
Yes, I would say that make sure there's a lot of DAT questions, like if there's practice exams and stuff. Um, I'm gonna put the DAT uh, link on there and definitely look at it because there's a lot of detailed information on there, and and then there's also some practice exams and some. I think there's some sample questions too. Um, and so there's
Oh yeah, I copied the policy. So if you
oh
wanted the exact policy, I put it in the chat.
uh yeah, and so I would just say like this is a question I hate saying this, but do you do some own research? Do some research, not good research, and also like where the research and information instead of asking your friends about the DAT, there's a dedicated website about every detail about the DAT on there, and so definitely take a look at it. This person wants to know if they should apply with the AA of 21, ADN, TS of 23, and PAT of 18. I think that's the score.
Yeah. So yeah. So the national average for AA is academic average and TS is total science. Um, the average score is around a 17. So can you get in with a 17? You can. We tell people to shoot for like a 20, 21 across most categories. Uh, but yeah, those are solid scores.
And then the other thing is they want to know if they want to know if there's any programs at UCSF, and I say there's inside UCSF that's every spring that the dental school is part of.
So they've
Uh,
suspended inside UCSF.
oh,
So
they
it's
did?
not, yeah, so it's not happening this year. They're
Okay,
looking to bring it back in the future.
okay. They just want to know if there's tours available and things.
Yeah, so if you go, I'll pull it up here. If you go to our prospective student page, you will see that we have campus tours, primarily of the dental center. That's the focus of the tour. The first Friday of every month. So we're scheduling them November through February. Right now, you can sign up. If you're a part of a club that wants to come, you can connect with our office and we can accommodate larger groups. But we unfortunately cannot accommodate kind of one-off tours. But that is the easiest way to come see the campus. If you do sign up on this website too, on the left side, there's a link to join our email if you weren't able to get the QR code. But the easiest way is by attending one of our pre-dental conferences that our clubs put on. So there's impressions, building bridges, day in dentistry. There's a ton of different on-campus events that our current students put on that give insight into UCSF, but also do workshops on like personal statements and interviewing and ways to strengthen yourself is a pre-dental applicant.
Yeah, I would just say follow their Instagram page because they are very thorough in putting their various events. And I'm someone who's not on social media. I know that our team that manages the social media, I have a personal, I don't have access to that account, but I follow that and I always see reposts from UCSF Dental School. So they do a lot of programs and I know that some of their other student groups do events and things. And so I would say don't, don't take our word for it. We try to repost as much as we can, but I know that they post a lot as well. Um, and so uh, the question was about the military, and I'm gonna put that link on there for the HSPS military scholarships.
Yeah.
And
So
those are just you have to get into dental school and apply.
yeah, so once you get into dental school, if you want uh an opportunity to graduate debt free, you can. I think it's the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force that participate. And basically, you would sign a contract with them, and for every year that you serve, every year that you receive tuition and a stipend from that branch of the military, you will then put into the military as a for dentistry dentist post graduation. So what most people do um, at UCSF, the Navy is really popular if students participate. And it's like a handful of students every year. It's not like everybody's doing this. It's not for everybody. It doesn't make sense for everybody to do this. But so what they would do is they would receive free tuition with with the Navy paying for it. And then they also receive a stipend for cost of living. And if they receive 4 years of tuition, then they are graduating debt free. And then they would do 4 years as a dentist in the Navy. And it's not a guaranteed where you are stationed, but because we're in California, there is a huge naval base down in San Diego. So most of our graduates starting out are stationed down in San Diego. So that's a good place to be. Why some people like the military is you don't have to deal with insurance. So whatever your patient needs, you're able to do. So if you're wanting to open up a private practice empire, maybe not for you because you want to have experiences working with insurance and dealing with those kinds of things. But it is a great way to get a lot of experience right outside of dental school, but also, again, graduating debt free.
Yeah, and I think the Air Force has a big dental clinic in Travis in Fairfield. But yeah, look at their programs that you have to be accepted. They won't even talk to you until you're accepted. But yeah, and that's a big commitment. And for some people it works and some people it doesn't. Somebody wants to know if they are doing an online bachelor's program. Uh, how does that looked upon?
Yeah, since COVID, we do accept online courses. So yeah, we would accept that
Um,
as long as it's from an accredited US institution.
yes, not Uncle Joe's
Yes.
online. Um, the other question is do you work while you're in dental school? Which I've never heard of anyone, but I don't know if you have.
Yeah. So most of our students do not. What we do offer, and this is another resource that is pretty common, is if you qualify for work study, there are a lot of work study jobs on campus, and they are a little bit more office based than in like undergrad. So the financial aid office, the registrar's office, the admissions office, employs student workers to assist with uh you know outreach or helping organize sessions, stuff like that. So there is opportunity to have a job, but it is to help lower loans. It is not to in in replace of.
Yeah, we had a conference, I think it was last year with and you could go back and look at it. There was I believe his name is Roger. He talked about the PhD
Huh,
program. Um, so go back and look on there, just do pre-med CC dental. And I think his name is Roger Moore. No,
Mraz.
Morass, sorry.
Yeah.
Starts with an M, Roger
Yeah.
Moore. James Bond. Sorry. He did the whole talk about the DDS PhD program.
Mhm.
But also there was a panel of dental students that talked about the postbacks that they did. And so I'm going to put that in the link before we leave. Um, but also the most important part of it, also they talked about some of the various student experiences. And one of the speakers who just graduated dental school, and I think he owed and he's been out 3 years, and he said that he graduated with about $400,000 worth of debt from undergrad and dental school. And in 3 years, he was able to pay off about $200,000 of it. So when you're done with your dental degree, DDS, you're not starving, and there's plenty of jobs, very competitive jobs. And so in 3 years, he was able to pay down, buy a house. He said he was able to buy a house, buy into a practice, and pay $200,000 worth of a debt. So look at that, and you know, there's a lot of reasons not to go into dental school, but paying for it should not be one of them, because you will have a job, and unemployment rate for dentists is so low that the Department of Labor does not keep track of it. So and I think that's a really big, if you're a first gen student, it's a big, health professions, it's a big anxiety because of the cost, but they shouldn't be. I mean, we have in California, if you want to buy a house, I think that the average house is $500,000, whereas, your starting salary with a college degree, it's closer to 100,000, whereas dentists now starting out make about 250,000, I think. Um, so you're making almost twice as much as two and a half times what the starting salary is. And so the economics of the health professions degree is to your side. And it's expensive and it's unfortunate. That's why elections matter. But also there's also public service loans. I know someone who got a $300,000 uh, loan repayment program becoming a dentist in underserved area. And he's actually an alumni of UCSF Dental School, but he works at a community clinic in the East Bay that got his loans paid off for. It's called the California um,
Yeah,
Golden State Scholarship. So,
yeah. Uh, if you go to our website, one of the tabs on the left side under DDS, it's financing your education. And on that tab, like there's more information on the military scholarship. There is more information on like going, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but the program where you can like go into a rural community and the federal government will help pay for your tuition. So you're committing to helping underserved for 4 years post-graduation. And it's just a bunch more information on making sure that you understand what resources there are uh, to to make this as cost effective as possible, because it is expensive, like we've discussed. But dentists, they're able to repay back their loans. So
the other question is, this person wants to know what are some of the resources in the Bay Area for undergraduate students that make you a strong applicant? Gosh.
resources,
Yeah, like programs and
yeah.
opportunities. So like there's Health Right 360, which I know some UCSF students rotate through. And I know there's a suitcase clinic that sees students, but any other ones that you could think of?
I think for our school specifically, it's just getting involved in the opportunities that we have on campus through all our different conferences. We also have, I mentioned CDC earlier. They have 2 leadership positions for pre-dental students. I think they're filled for this academic year, but if you're looking to get involved in future years, they have a website if you just Google UCSF CDC. And you can kind of keep it on your radar for future years if you are a pre-dental student that wants to get involved. Or if you are interested in research, I know Roger Mraz's name was mentioned earlier. You can connect with Roger to see if there are any research opportunities that fit with your schedule at UCSF if you wanted to explore that.
And then the last two questions is there's a lot of questions. We're not going to be able to get through all of them. It's if somebody's graduating from UCSF dental school and if they want to be competitive for oral and maxillofacial surgery, how does that work with a pass, no pass structure?
Yeah, great question. So on the transcript, it does say pass or no pass. Hopefully for everyone it's pass. But in order to determine the pass, there is like a number, like you got a 75 on this exam, or there is a number associated with it while you're in the class, and then the final grade is a pass or no pass, okay? But those numbers are just to keep you the individual so you know if you are on track of passing, okay? If you do score within the top 10% of a class, then you get an honors on your transcript. And we are on the quarter system. So we have a lot of classes happening very frequently. So every quarter, there's a new opportunity to get additional honors on your transcript. So that's one way of standing out academically. Our students, part of applying to a postgrad program like OMFS is showing leadership and showing that you've been involved. So because, again, the pass, no pass with the ISO time built in, there are opportunities for students to get experiences in OMFS early and making sure that they are as competitive as possible to apply. And like you can, as a first or second year, start hanging out in the OMFS, not just hanging out, but like shadowing and assisting in the OMFS department. So when it comes time to apply, they know you, and you have better insight as to how you can be a competitive applicant and what OMFS programs are looking for across the US. So again, not a guarantee. There's only so many spots, but it allows you to have insight so you can be a really competitive applicant.
And then the other question is, if you take your prereqs at a community college, does that count? Does that count for UCSF dental school? And are you at a disadvantage if you take it at a community college versus a four-year school?
No, so yeah, we do accept them from a community college. You're not at a disadvantage at all. If you go to the prereqs website, you will see that a certain portion of units do have to be completed in a 4-year. But if the bulk of your prereqs are at a community college, that's totally fine. Like I said earlier, the only class that has to be taken at a 4-year is biochemistry.
Yeah, that's an upper division class. And then somebody else, this is the last one. I swear I'm going to be. I won't keep you any longer. Actually, I've kept you. Gosh, I'll give you my firstborn. How's that? This person wants to know, they first year of college, they did really bad, and do now improve. And is that going to hurt them?
So we look for upward trend. Your first year in college, like it's a transitional period. We understand that. If it was depending on like how bad, right? If it's like you got 1C, that's not bad. Like calm down. If it is almost academic probation or on academic probation, you might want to discuss what was going on in your application and how you were able to improve. But what we're looking for as an admissions committee is that you do improve and that there is an upward trend, and that you're able to end on a high note. What would be a potential red flag is if you started out strong and then over the 4 years you're getting lower GPAs and lower GPAs. We want to know what's going on, and that doesn't give us confidence that you're in a good space to keep up academically with dental school. So, you know, if you're going to mess up, it's okay that it's your first year, But let's just make sure that we're on an upward trend so you can end on a high note, and show that you're ready to do this.
Yes, and I put the pre-med CC dental uh, symposium here. You can take a look at it. And Mr. Mraz's presentation there. Well, Mr. Crilly, I'm not going to keep you any longer. We have kept you 7 minutes longer than we were supposed to, and want to apologize for that. Thank you again for making time on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I encourage everybody, if you're able to either attend one of our conferences or one of our virtual events in the future, or come to campus during a campus tour, please, we have a ton of opportunities to get involved and see what we've got going on at the School of Dentistry. So if you see me around in the future, please let me know, and good luck with the admissions process. And if you're unsure if dentistry is for you, you got to go out and shadow. That's the only way you're going to know if this is the career path. So happy shadowing and good luck.
Thank you again. Have a great weekend, and sorry for keeping you longer.
You're all good. Bye, all.
Thank you.